Hello and welcome. My name is Father William Maestri, and this is Overfed and Undernourished. For thousands of years, the value and therapeutic value of water has been well known and used throughout history and in religious as well as in secular venues. Even in our own day, physical therapists recommend the use of water, whirlpools, and various other kinds of uses of water to help people, for example, after they've had surgery, especially on their hip or their knee, their foot, some kind of extremity. The water is low impact and it also allows movement without increasing the likelihood of a recurrence or further injury. The Bible has a number of instances in which the swirling waters of a pool prove to be healing and therapeutic for the person. In the fifth chapter of John's Gospel, Jesus practices, in a way, his own kind of aquatherapy, if you will. There was a healing pool right in Jerusalem, the healing pool at Bethsaida. And Jesus was walking one day by that particular pool, and there's a man on the side of the pool. Jesus recognizes him. He has been there for 38 years, unable to get into the pool and really not being able to enjoy or to experience the healing effects of the water. So Jesus walks by him this particular day. The man looks up and expects, no doubt, from Jesus perhaps some nice spiritual words of comfort or consolation. If it's his day, he may even expect maybe a handout. After all, maybe Jesus can give him some alms to help him get through the day. Jesus does none of that. Rather, Jesus gives him something much more valuable than that. Jesus asks him a question. He says, "Do you want to be healed?" This, at first hearing, often shocks us and even may offend our sensibilities today. Of course the man wants to be healed. Who wants to lay on the side of a pool as a paraplegic for 38 years? Jesus is asking him, in a way, how is it after 38 years you haven't been able to get in the pool to get some kind of relief or some kind of healing? He doesn't say that directly. He simply says, "Do you want to be healed?" Notice immediately that the man goes into an explanation, a rationalization. If you want, he has a whole litany of excuses as to why he's not in the pool. Well, you see, first of all, as is obvious, I'm paralyzed. I'm a paralytic. So my condition prevents me from getting in. Number two, I don't have anyone to push me into the pool, to help me into the pool. Thirdly, all of these people are getting in ahead of me. They're not paying any attention to me. They wouldn't even stop to maybe allow me to get into the pool, if not first, at least early. So he has a whole list that he has prepared and has to get out there as to why he's fixed in his paralysis. In other words, one can come away with the impression that he really likes the side of the pool, he likes his paralysis, and he's in love with his mat. Well, why not? It's comfortable. He's used to it. Also, he is the object of people's misplaced compassion, maybe. He's got an easy kind of life there, per se. And so he's very, very comfortable in his paralysis. And please notice, Jesus does not engage his excuses. He doesn't dignify them with a response. He completely passes over them. They're total deflections. They really don't matter. Jesus says to him three things. He says, "Arise, pick up your mat, and walk." Those three things are very, very important in the process of healing. First of all, do something. Do something. Arise. It seems that the man's paralysis is not simply physical, but it's also a paralysis of the will. He has become, to a large extent, despairing in his situation. He's given up in it, to the extent that for him, that's the normal. That's the accepted. And Jesus says, arise, take an action, do something. Don't simply stay fixated on the side of the pool. Otherwise, you'll be there another 38 years. Get up, move. Secondly, walk. Engage in an action. And the man gets up and walks. But in between that, Jesus says, pick up your mat. The mat is the symbol of all the man's excuses. It's the symbol of his comfort and of his ease. It's also of his fear and his anxiety. Because if he gets up, picks up his mat and walks, a whole bunch of new responsibilities will fall to him. He will be expected to live and to act in a different way. We assume that people want to be healed. Yet, have you ever had the frustrating experience of talking to someone who comes to you with a problem? It may be a financial problem, it may be a spiritual problem, a psychological problem, a family problem, whatever the problem is. And you genuinely want to help. And so you go through and you rack your brain as the person is talking for all of the what to do next things. What to do, how to get out of it, how to solve it. And no matter what you say, the person says, well, I tried that. It doesn't work. Well, I don't think that's a good idea. Been there, done that. And after a while, you're not only frustrated, you're exhausted. Because no matter what you say, the person's not buying into and not even willing to try what you're suggesting. Now, perhaps you can't bring yourself to say to the person, do you really want to solve this? Do you really want to be healed? Because there are some people who love their infirmities. They've made friends with them. The Irish have a wonderful saying, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. They've domesticated their devil, their paralysis, their demon. St. Augustine, who was not Irish, by the way, he said something very important. St. Augustine said, God builds the boat. He expects us to open the sail. In other words, too often people want the boat to be built, the sail to be opened, the wind to come, and then we're fine with that. Oh, and by the way, give us the map to the safe harbor so that we can get there and then move on with our lives. And God often says to us, no, I've given you the things that you need to navigate through life. It's time for you to pick up your mat and start walking. It's time for you to open the sails and not become a victim, but to take some responsibility and action for the situation in which you find yourself. Now, even more important is that after this particular episode, because the man gets up immediately and he walks, a few minutes later, Jesus sees the man again. And Jesus says to him, you have been healed. You've been made well. Don't commit that sin again. Jesus does not. Nowhere in the scripture, in this passage, does Jesus make the connection between his paralysis and sin. Doesn't make that connection. But what he is saying is that not every paralysis is physical. There is also a spiritual healing that one needs. And we need to ask ourselves, for example, Is there some physical difficulty that's holding us back that we could really overcome with effort, like physical therapy? First couple of days, very difficult, but we began to see the effects of it because in the struggle is the strength, and we began to become more and more engaged with the therapy. The same is true in the spiritual life. Is there some spiritual difficulty, perhaps some vice, some sin that we're struggling with? What are we doing about it? What is our action? Do we expect God, once again, to open the sails as well? Or are we engaged in trying to overcome that sin? With God's help, certainly we have the boat, but God also expects us to participate in our own healing as well. And I think that that's an important thing. We want to avoid the two sins, the sin of despair. I can't do anything, I'm lost, I'm finished, I'm hopeless. And presumption. That is, I'll let God do it all. Both of those are extremes that really do not lead to healing. We have to be actively involved in the healing process. We have to take responsibility for that. And so what I would suggest is this. Take 1 week of your life, and at the end of each day, begin with what is that one area in your spiritual life or in your physical life that really needs addressing, that needs healing, that needs change. Write it down. One area, just one. And at the end of each day of that week, write down the 1 or 2 things, maybe 3 if you're a real energetic person. What are the 1, 2, or 3 things that you've done that day? That you've done? What action have you taken to address that particular issue, physical or spiritual? What is it? And at the end of the week, have a reassessment of what the week has taught you, what the week has shown you in terms of moving from fixation to action to a kind of recovery and a plan going forward. That way, you feel a kind of empowerment because you are invested in your own healing as well as the grace of Almighty God. And I think that that's very important. You see, because the paralytic and the pool at Bethdaida are not fixed in space and time. Each and every one of us, at our own particular moments in life, however long or short they are, we have a tendency to carry Bethdaida and that pool with us, as well as being paralyzed. We bring it with us. We live in it and through it at various times in our life. We can be like the paralytic. We can lay on the side of the pool of our life for 38 years or 40 or 50, if you will. And we can say, well, you know, here's all the reasons why I can't get into the healing thing. I can't get into that pool. Or we can take the necessary action, engage the situation so that we too can rise, pick up our mat, and walk. At the end of the day, healing is not simply God's work, it also involves us, our own involvement in the healing process.